Well, hello, and nice to see you back again. I hope you enjoyed your questions, and they were perhaps a little challenging, and something you can continue discussion later if you didn't finish talking about them.
I'd be surprised if they did manage to finish them.
Yeah, so it's quite a few of them. So anyway, it's something for your car journeys or your time where you're having a date night or
Yes.
some other time where you can share together. Anyway, we're now going to talk a little bit about communication between husband and wife. What we're going to do is share about us and about some of the mistakes we've made in communication over the years, which are many, particularly as we're very different. And in English, we would say we're like chalk and cheese. That may not work in your language. Maybe you'll have something different. What it means is we're very different.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give you a few examples. I'm going to say how I am, and Lynn's going to say how she is, and you'll see we're quite different. So I love being outdoors, particularly in the sun.
I prefer to be indoors or in the shade.
I'm a natural introvert.
I'm definitely an extrovert.
I enjoy daily exercise, particularly walking and cycling in the local countryside.
I don't really like walking. I walk a bit, but not because I enjoy it particularly, but I do like seeing the scenery.
I'm very orderly and I'm organized, and I even have a tidy desk.
Please don't let me show you my desk.
And I enjoy a balanced diet. I like vegetables and salad and fruit, along with the fish and meat, which I also love.
Well, I'll eat all of those things, but I do really prefer meat and vegetables, potatoes, and of course, dessert.
And for entertaining, I love small dinner parties where we can really get to know people and talk to them at for a decent level of time to get to know them.
For my 60th birthday, we invited 100 people to the house and 85 came. I loved it.
I love to prepare well in advance.
I tend to be more last minute.
I also get easily bored, and I tend to multitask frequently.
I have no ability to multitask, and I don't get bored with doing the same thing for quite a long time.
I love new ideas and plans, and I've got no problem with change.
I don't really like change, and I like to have the same thing happening so I know where I am.
I enjoy watching sport, particularly football.
I prefer doing craft or crosswords.
I enjoy keeping up to date with politics and current affairs.
I find out all I need to via Facebook on that.
And I enjoy private devotions and spending time personally alone with God.
Where I prefer to pray in a big group or worship in a big group. So, as you can see from that, we are very, very different. And we do at least understand that that is the case. And you need to obviously think about yourselves too. Good communication needs understanding on both sides. Understanding needs active and empathetic listening. Don't always be thinking of what answer you're going to give. The other thing is that often we think that we are right, not them. We judge ourselves by our intentions of what we intended to say or intended to do. But what they did was what we count for them, not us, of course. They just misinterpreted me.
Yeah, we're sharing our life together, and it's important to remember that communication is more than just words. We need to hear the tone of voice and see the body language.
Mm-hmm.
If Lynn says, I'm fine, it can sound very different, like it can be.
I'm fine.
We know we're in a good place. Lynn's fine, she's in a good space. Or she could say,
I'm fine.
Which means it's sort of average, maybe it could be better, could be worse. But then I can have,
I'm fine.
I'm fine with the turning of the head and the body language and the tone of voice you can hear. Lynn clearly isn't fine, and I need to find out what I've done or what she's done and work on that. And the same with I can say I'm okay, which again could be a good thing. It could just mean I can take care of things. I'm managing it well. I don't need any help particularly. But I'm okay, might mean that I really don't want to admit that there's a real problem. And I'm too proud to allow somebody else to do it. I need to sort it out myself and prove I can do it.
Especially when you got lost in the car and the sat navs were not working.
Yeah. Yes, I don't always like to ask for directions, and I ask Lynn to do that. Well, I'm driving after all, Eugene. It's good to share our life together, to get to know each other, to share our dreams, share our joys, share our problems. We love to share our dream holiday. And our dream means that we can spend an hour a day in whichever place we like, because we've got a transporter or a teleporter. So we might spend sunrise in one of our favorite places in America, Monument Valley, and watch the sun rise between the massive rocks, red rocks. And, we might have breakfast in the Caribbean at a beautiful beach where we can see the beautiful fish swimming around. And then lunch in the Church of the Good Shepherd, which is in New Zealand on the South Island, which is our favorite place on earth. So we can look over the mountains and the beautiful lakes. So you can see we like to dream these things. We often talk about them. And in fact, when we do Deepening Love, the intimacy weekend, we often encourage others, if they can't think of something to do, to copy this and do it for themselves and dream and enjoy what they might be able to do or what they've done. But we also have to share our problems and talk through things that are difficult, either between us or even if in the ministry or whatever we're doing. We might need to send a difficult correspondence to somebody. But if we do, we'll always talk about that at length to make sure we get the right message across, but also the right words so that we don't offend and so that we bring it over in a kind and friendly way, even if it's a difficult message. And we'll often leave it until the next day before we send it to make sure that it still feels the right thing to do. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12 says, "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken."
So we need to be clear about our communication. We often find that women, or certainly me anyway, yes, me, I tend to not be very clear and direct about things because that seems rude to me. But if I make hints, Mike doesn't understand what I'm saying.
Well, not always, anyway. Or I might choose not to.
Exactly. So I find that Mike generally wants to try and help me with things if I ask him something. But if I don't make it clear, he doesn't necessarily know what am I asking. So if I said to Mike, "Can you do this?" he'll say, "Yes, I can do it." But I haven't said, "Would you do it?" Which is quite a different thing.
That's a good excuse not to do it, really, because you haven't asked me to do it.
I know. So we need to be more precise with our requests. In Matthew 5:37, it says, "Simply let your yes be yes and your no, no." Of course, even if I ask Mike directly, it's not a guarantee that he will do it, but the chances are, because he's kind and helpful, that he will.
Especially if I know the time scale and I know you need it done quickly or away.
If I need to be very direct and specific.
Yeah, that helps.
Indeed.
So one thing that we or couples in general tend to struggle to talk about is finance. And transparency in financial matters is really important. In fact, money matters are cited as one of the main reasons for divorce. Failure to talk before we spend can cause significant mistrust between us. We have a rule that we don't spend any major amounts of money without talking about it first.
That's worked well for us.
It has worked well for us over the years. And when we got married, it was even more important because we had no money. So we had to decide how to use the very little that we had, and not basically not spend things that we didn't need to spend.
Yeah.
So we talked about that a lot. Fortunately for us now, we have a little bit more, so we can, well, we still talk about major expenditure, but we don't talk about some of the more minor things that we need.
Yes.
What we spend our money on affects our marriage greatly as well. We can have different views about what is important. So some couples consider it, they might want to save money so that in case something comes up at a future time. But the other spouse may want to do something special or buy something special. So we need to decide: are we going to save? Are we going to spend? Are we going to give the money away? Is there people that we would like to help, and in our neighbourhood or in our church or in our family? And so another option is to give as well as to spend or to save. Then again, one spouse might want to enjoy now and have a holiday and go somewhere for entertainment. So there's lots of options with our money. So it's important we talk about it rather than just go ahead on our own when our spouse may want to do something different. Part of the joy of buying things as well is to talk about it first. We want to enjoy the anticipation. And certainly when we told you about our holiday around the world in the previous talk, when I retired, we spent a year talking about this and enjoying the anticipation, enjoying talking about where we might want to go. That was part of the enjoyment. And if we want to buy something again, it's quite nice to be able to talk about what that means and enjoy it together. It's also important to budget so we know what finances we have and what we can afford to buy, what we can afford to give. This is something we both need to understand so we avoid nasty surprises or unexpected debts. It's important to remember that open and honest communication builds trust, and trust is so important in a relationship.
Yes.
Also, we need to learn to be content with what we have. Our relationship with each other and with God are the most important things, much more important than things around us. So we should concentrate our effort and our time on the right relationships. 1 Timothy 6:6-10 says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and into a trap, into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil."
So it's really important that we do have conversation and communicate with each other well. And generally, wives have a greater need for deep conversation and communication than husbands do. And studies show that wives, on average, speak 50,000 words a day compared to the husband's 30,000 words a day. Of course, in some relationships that may be different, not in ours. Women often talk just to build relationship rather than to share information, where men want to just share information more often and can struggle to share what's on their heart, how they feel about things. They perhaps don't want to worry their wives, or they don't think that their wives need to know everything.
Or they're introverted like me, and I used to not want to share my heart because I wanted to work things out for myself.
Yes, so there's all sorts of things that can be reasons. Also, men tend to want to try and fix things rather than just listening to the problems. So say a wife is upset, the husband will say, "What can I do to fix that?" When perhaps all she wanted was a hug. We're now moving on to talk about intimacy and sexual intimacy. And as you can see, this photo is of a heart. But I really like this photo because it's made up of several colours and sizes of heart. And intimacy is like this. There's many different things that make up the whole heart. Different types, different sizes make different importance, but they make the whole of our intimacy together.
Couples are often not good at communicating about intimacy and about sex. But sexual intimacy is the one thing that makes our marriage different from other relationships. We can have close relationships with our family. We can have close relationship with friends of the same sex. But our relationship with our wife is the one that involves sexual intimacy, and the only one that involves sexual intimacy. So it's a thing we need to talk about, particularly if there's problems. It's also good to thank each other for a good time. The Holy Spirit doesn't leave us when we're in the bedroom. He is omnipresent. So if we have problems, we should talk about them, but also pray about them. God wants us to enjoy the wedding gift that he's given to us.
Yes.
We also need to remember the importance of romance. Men are not always good at continuing romance. They like to romance their lady to win them over. And maybe when they get married, they thought the job's done and they don't need to do that anymore. But actually, it's a vital part of our intimacy to enjoy time together. Men need to realize that while intimacy for us, for men, is predominantly about loving touch and sexual intimacy, for women, intimacy doesn't necessarily involve sex, but maybe just closeness, communication, romance, long hugs that we enjoy long hugs. Lynn particularly with her particular love language of touch. And so we enjoy long hugs regularly. It's important that we have regular sexual intimacy, but also we have special romantic times with our spouse to do what we enjoy together. In England, we call them date nights. You may call it something different, but it's a special time where we reserve for ourselves, maybe put it in the calendar so we don't allow other things to interrupt with it. And we enjoy some time romantically together, doing things we enjoy. But it's also important we have regular sexual intimacy. So both are really important if we want to keep our marriage fresh.
Yes. So that's probably the nicest part of communication. But there are often going to be difficult things which may look like this in your relationship. We can have conflict, we can have arguments. And I don't think we need to be concerned about that. I think nearly every relationship will involve that. Apparently, there are only 2% of couples, because of the makeup of their characters, that will not have arguments on a regular basis. But what really matters is how we handle those arguments. And we mustn't avoid them, but we need to handle them well. In fact, healthy conflict can actually strengthen us. So think back to your last argument. What was that like? What was it about? Did you handle it well or did you not? And we've got 4 suggestions for you to help you to handle it well. The first one is to actually listen to what the other person is saying. In tough moments, pause and hear what the other person is saying. Try and understand how they feel. Take turns in sharing and aim for understanding, not just responding. So that's the first one. The second one is to stay on topic. Resist the urge to talk about things in the past that have been problems. Just focus on the current issue, like those arrows are pointing into that circle. Focus on the current thing and work towards how can we sort this thing out. The third one is to talk about what we think. Use words that say, I feel. Not from what you say this, or you never, or you always, but to speak what we feel. So don't say you never listen, or to say I feel unheard. And the fourth thing is when things get too hot and too difficult, take a break if you need to. There's 3 hours between these two clocks. I don't think it necessarily needs 3 hours.
It'll take 3 days, then.
It's really a case of when you are ready to resume the discussion, or when there is an opportunity to do so, because there could be commitments that you have in the meantime, to pause what you're talking about and revisit it when you've calmed down or when there is a better time to do it.
It's important, though, that we don't let it go on overnight and that the sun doesn't go down on our anger.
Absolutely. And it's really important we come back to it at some point and don't just forget about it altogether, because that's no good at all. So if there is a strife between us and not just a difference of opinion, then a strife break, which you will learn about in the Married for Life course if you haven't already done it, is a great technique to break the strife. It means that we can proceed to come to agreement in a rational manner. If you've done the Married for Life course already, you will know that the strife break involves facing each other and speaking our heavenly language for about 3 minutes or thereabouts, until we feel the presence of God and the peace of God in our hearts, and the strife is broken. And if you don't speak in tongues, then you can just spend the time praising God.
The important thing is not to pray at each other, it's to seek God and look to him, and for that 3 minutes.
Exactly. And as we were saying before, we are very different people. We still have strife. We still use strife breaks quite regularly, but it doesn't have to be just for an argument or a disagreement. Sometimes we just have a bad time and there's that atmosphere which is not good.
We particularly can be grumpy in the mornings, can't we?
Well, yes, I don't get up very happily. But what's good to know is that after we've done the strife break for around 3 minutes, and you will know when the strife has been broken, then often we just collapse in laughter and we feel actually quite friendly towards each other and happy with each other.
Yeah, another thing to remember is that we might well come from different cultures. I think this could be from different countries, or it could just be from different family backgrounds, the way we were brought up. And communication issues can come because of the way we brought up or the country we were brought up in, because we have different views about how things should be done. Some things are interpreted different. Time is one. We've got used to now different cultures in the not just the UK, where in London particularly there's lots of different nationalities, and even in our churches lots of different nationalities. And we've learned that when we say a particular time to meet for African couples, that's just a guide to when you might think about going. Whereas for us, we would make sure we're there a couple of minutes before. It's a different mindset, and we need to get used to that. We need to understand the differences in our backgrounds, talk about them. It might be difference in our religious background. One of us might have been brought up a Catholic, one of us might have been brought up as a Muslim. If there's differences there, that's something else that will affect how we feel and how we communicate. You can see the people on the screen are couples in our ministry, but they're couples that look different. They're all from different countries, the husband and wife. Well, listening carefully is really important. That's the key. We need to listen to each other and really hear each other.
Another thing we also need to consider is the fact that as we grow old together, as we talked about the vows in the last one, things will change for us. And as we go through life, the circumstances change. And for us, we got married in 1979, seems a long time ago now. And this is what we look like on our wedding day. And so at that point, we were thinking about all sorts of things. We were talking about the finances, which we had none of. We were thinking about the possibility of having children. And there were lots of things. And we were thinking about jobs and making sure we had one to keep the finances going. But then this one is taken in 88. We had young children. We had lots of responsibilities looking after them then. And then in this one, we had teenage children. We were soon to lose our first parent, making you the oldest man in our family. So that was responsibility. And we also started working with 2=1 at that point as well.
We learned how to communicate better.
And we did, which was very good. And then here, we're just about to start looking after England for 2=1 and then the UK. We're talking about retirement for Mike at some point. Our children have now left home. So things have changed quite a lot. This one, we're starting looking after Europe. Sadly, we lost our second father, my father, and we adjusted to your retirement from paid employment. So that was quite different. And this is more or less now. Sadly, we've lost both our mothers as well now, and we're considering retirement from responsibilities in 2=1. So we need to talk about things as they're moving along, about our future vision and our dreams. We can have fun doing this too, thinking about future changes that concern us, and we need to support each other in that. We need to have open, honest, and real communication to build trust and deepen our relationship. And most importantly, I think it's vital to be kind to each other, to seek to encourage each other.
We're still learning.
We are still learning, and to build up our spouse rather than to pull them down, which is sadly sometimes our natural instinct.
So now it's your turn. As before, we're going to give you some questions. In fact, you should have received them on an email before this meeting. Hopefully you've got them written down, but we're just going to repeat them, and Lynn's going to go through the questions in the various languages as I talk through in English. So the first question is, what areas of communication are difficult for you? Are there any areas in your marriage that you're not able to talk about? How can you improve your communication? How good are you at really listening to your spouse? What can you do to improve this? How good are you at dealing with conflict? And how could you improve that? So again, challenging to go through those questions in the time you've got, but have a go, and you can always have more discussion later.
Yes, and afterwards it's important that you come back to this
to the main screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that just stay here, so that we will then have the questions in groups afterwards, different questions.
So just mute your video and talk amongst yourselves, and then we'll come back in 20 minutes, and we will then go into breakout rooms to discuss with others of your language group.
Right.
Amen.
Amen.